Hi, I'm Nick, the guy that you've been reading about for the past few slides or so. I thought it'd be good to see my face, to hear my voice after spending so long looking at my self-reflections and hopefully seeing how the thoughts that I have and the conception that I have about myself, how those conceptions materialize in the actions that I do, and how that results in the way that other people see me. I hope that that's allowed you to have a perception of what it's meant to me to be a global citizen and really what it means to be me in general. But I'm sure with that has come some questions, which I hope to answer now. Namely, what does all of this analytics, all of these thoughts about my identity have to do with global citizenship? And what I hope to have communicated through this project is something that I've grown to appreciate throughout this internship, which is that the identities that we hold, even the very things that we think about ourselves, that these are spatially malleable. That where I am affects the things that I can do, it affects the things that other people say about me, and ultimately, it even influences how I come to view myself. And I think we can see this in some of the influential places that I've mapped out in the map of actions, particularly the runs that I've gone on that have shown me, taken me throughout much of the city. The time that I spent in Montreal, biking through the streets and being able to feel the freedom of having a personal mode of transportation. Um, the and this wasn't on the maps, but this was something still was my experience going to Scarborough Bluffs, which are right at the edge of Toronto, and massive, there's massive landmark really, where you have these sheer cliffs meeting a lake, and yet and you just want to go to the cliffs, but there's a no trespassing sign, and thinking about how that is in itself a way of defining space, but also that presents some choices, right? Do I follow the sign or do I trespass? Which ultimately I did, and I think that that's part of the experience of being able to travel, being able to go to these new places to make choices that or I've seen no trespassing signs before, but still, in new places, you have new experiences and the opportunity to make choices that you wouldn't have in the other places. And I think that this comes into what it means to when we say that the world is getting smaller, that really the structure of day to day life is so much more malleable, so much more dynamic than it used to be. And that this is something that we have to be okay with. As the world continues to change, continues to change underneath our feet, basically, we need to be aware that as our surroundings change, we'll change as well. And throughout this course, I think a lot of the different modules we've looked at when it comes to aesthetics, jokes, culture, public transportation, these have shaped the way that I've been able to make sense of the way that these different experiences have changed the way that I changed who I am, really. And understanding that this is something that works on multiple dimensions. This works on multiple facets of who I am, in the way that I view what my ideal lifestyle is, whether it's a personal vehicle mode of transportation or using a bike and public transportation, whether it's under uh, whether it's adopting an aesthetic from the East Coast where the buildings are much older, or continuing to follow the Spanish style that's in California. All of these things are just facts of living in a globalized world where you get to choose the space that shapes you, partially get to choose the space that shapes you, and you partially don't. And um, in the end, you'll need to be aware, and you'll need to have an understanding of these different elements in order to get to actively participate in how globalization changes who you are. And when it comes to being a global citizen, though, I thought that that was an interesting paradox because to be a citizen is to be of one country specifically, but to be global is to be non-country, is to transcend the idea of countries. But I think the idea of global citizenship is that paradox that I mentioned when I was talking about my values of personal and universal truth. That in the end, there is both the individual that I am with my particular experiences that have defined me up to this point, but there's also the global experience that I can have in the future. And really, what it is it's translating the past experience into something that people, whether you're from that same background, it's translating it into something that you can understand. And the second aspect of global citizenship is preparing myself, as I talked about with identity, but also in many other ways, to be shaped by the future of globalization, these future new experiences that I can't even imagine at the moment. And so, really, in my mind, this is a process of translation, not a translation of words. Not that it doesn't include that, but it's more than that. It's a translation of experiences, of ideas, of ways of living. Because we can't just forget the past. We can't clear ourselves and become a blank slate. And I don't think that that's what global citizen means. Because then it doesn't encapsulate the idea of the citizen. But instead, we have to learn, adapt, and grow so that we're able to take our local experiences and translate them into something that can span the world. Ultimately, I think it is understanding how that future of global, how these future experiences that are so far beyond what I can imagine, it is understanding how those experiences will shape me, and it is understanding how I can present my experiences in a way that will positively affect other people. That defines the purpose, the tool set that I have gained in this class. And I think that through the result of this course will be my growth and the ability to show empathy with people who have widely different experiences than I do, but also to present my life in a way that is empathizable, understandable to people who really have had no connection to it. And I hope that what I've done to map things out, to write, to create infographics and word clouds, I hope that that's all helped you to understand who I am. Because that means that I've at least partially succeeded in being able to be a global citizen, that I was able to translate this experience of having my identity shaped in Toronto to something that you can take and grow from, and that you can also yourself understand and see yourself in it. Thank you. It's been a wonderful time in this class and in Toronto.